Welcome, and Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. And we are working on Torah Temimah. We're working consecutively through the book of Genesis, and we're on chapter 2. And we've covered a lot of territory, actually, in that brief amount. So we're going more in depth here into the Torah Temimah's commentary on the Torah. So we were just talking last time about the four rivers, and we mentioned the Hebrew, the Hanar Harevi'i, and the fourth river, Prat. That is the Euphrates. And Torah Temimah explained last time we discussed it that refers to the river that's mentioned at the very beginning of the subject about the rivers, and that it's meaning here is that river, that original river that feeds Eden, is Prat, is the Euphrates. And we discussed that this is more a literary issue than a geographic issue, and I think we tried to see what we could do to understand these things. In other words, from a metaphoric point of view, what does a river represent? Because it represents water coming, which is life-giving, and of course, we could also talk about feeding the spirit as well. That's what it's talking about. We'll have to see. So, anyway. And this is the next, we didn't discuss this, Prat, that is Prat. So Tanya, it's taught in an early source, Rabbi Meir Omer. Rabbi Meir is actually a famous rabbi, Yuval Shmuel. The actual name of this river isn't Prat, it's actually Yuval. That's its real name. And Torah Temimah is going to help us understand the point that's being made here. How do we know this? Shene'emar, because it states in Jeremiah 17:8, V'haya ka'etz shatul al mayim, because this is talking about a righteous person who's able to survive in hostile surroundings. He will be like a tree that is planted by water. Va'al yuval yishlach shorashav. And to the stream, if we want to translate the stream, but of course this is where we've got this word yuval, he will spread out, he will cast forth his roots. V'lama nikra shmo Prat. So the question becomes, well, if its real name is Yuval, why is it being called the Prat? Shem miyamav, because from its, or meimav, it's meimav, excuse me, because its waters parim veravim. They are fruitful and multiply. And this is also in the tractate Bechorot. This is what this means. Sham means there. In other words, it's in the tractate Bechorot, page 55, on the B side of the page. So let's take a look at what Torah Temimah is going to tell us about this. So let me see if here we are. Okay. So when it says it is fruitful and multiply, right? The point is the lo matar, without rain. So the idea, of course, is that this righteous person that Jeremiah is talking about is being compared to a tree that while it is in the midst of an area that may be full of drought, it itself does not. It survives fine. It is not affected by the drought because of where it casts its root, and it's as if it's planted by water. So the idea of why it's called Prat, while there's the play on words parim veravim from the word Prat, okay, means it's without water. The river itself is able to swell its waters without rain. The Tam Hadrasha, and the reason for this in this explanation, Mishum de Pasuk de Yirmiyahu. So in other words, why does he take this from the verse in Jeremiah? Shemevi. Sorry, give me a moment here. Okay, Shemevi. Sorry, just a matter of putting commas in the right place. Why? And the reason for the verse that he brought from Jeremiah, Ire, it deals with Be'etz HaChaim. It's talking actually about the tree of life. That's this tree that this person is compared to. The Eitz HaChayim, and we know that the tree of life, Began Eden Hu, that is located in the Garden of Eden. Ufrat, and the river Prat, let me find it. Whom Hamashke et Gan Ha'eden. And we know that the Prat is what waters the Garden of Eden. The Imkain, Ikar Shem HaNahar, Hazeh Hu Yovel. And if that's the case, the real name, the main name of this particular river is Yovel. In other words, we're understanding the Jeremiah verse as saying that it is that here we go. Let me make sure I find it again, right? He will be al mayim v'al yuval, right? And on the yuval, al yuval meaning the Prat stream, on the yuval now. We're translating as the word yuval simply as the name of the river. He will cast forth his roots. Okay. Let me find the place. Okay. V'lachen darish, and for this reason he interprets shenikra prat, that it is called prat lekavana acheret kedem farash, that the reason why it's called prat has to do with this play on words that he mentions, that this river is capable of sustaining itself without the need for rain. So that's why, but the real name of the river is Yuval. It just has a nickname. This river has a nickname. So let's keep going. Next verse that we're going to look at. Vayikach Hashem Elokim et Adam. The Lord God took the man, Vayanichehu began Eden, and he placed him in the Garden of Eden, La'ovda u'lashomra, to tend it and to guard it. Really lovely Labor Day drush here, as you will see. Lo'ovda u'lashamra, to labor in it, right, to tend it and to guard it, take care of it. Tanya, again, an early source. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Omer, Rabbi Shimon, son of Elazar, says, Gdola melacha, work, labor, is a great thing. She'af Adam Harishon, because even Adam, even the first man, lo ta'am klum, did not taste anything. In other words, he didn't receive any benefits ad she'asa melacha, until he performed labor. Shene'emar, as it states, Vayenichehu began Eden lo'ovda u'l'shamra, because it says God placed him in the Garden of Eden to tend it and to guard it. V'hadar mikol eitz hagan achol tochel. And only after it states that, then it says, you may eat, you can certainly eat from every tree in the garden. So because the labor precedes the eating, this is the basis on how we understand. It's so important to find, to be able to do a job and to earn your income. Rem is who, okay. In other words, this is seen as an allusion, leva'e olam, to the inhabitants of the world, she'ein ra'ui lehenot min ha'olam, that it is not fitting to benefit from the world, mibli shiaviu ezu to'elet, without the possibility of bringing some kind of help, succor, I suppose we could say, v'hana'ah, and benefit, le'yishuv ha'olam, for the settling of the world. In other words, that it's so important for every individual to do something in terms of benefiting society, v'kiyumo, and its preservation. Achareki, and since ha'olam mitzido, because from the point of view that the world mitzido, from its side, or from the person's point of view, or no, I think it's the world from its side, mehanya la'adam, it is there of benefit for man. In other words, it's lovely if you think about it. It's trying to give us the sense that we have a relationship with the world, in which we inhabit, that we benefit from the world. There's so many benefits that we get from living in this world. And so consequently, we should feel that we need to even the score and we need to benefit this world from which we gain such benefit. Lachen ra'ui, and for this reason, ra'ui lehenot gam lo mitzad ha'adam. And for that reason, it's appropriate then to benefit it from the man's point of view. And there are some examples of this. And he says, this is sort of what's going on, Mashakotuv b'Shabbat, which is mentioned in the tractate of Shabbat on page 33b. Vayichan et pnei ha'ir. It refers to Jacob, right, having escaped Esau, etc. And he comes, I believe this is Shechem, and it says, and he encamped, Vayichan, from the word machaneh, lachanot, he encamped the outside, the outskirts of the city, right? That's where he encamped. Now that's the pshat, but there's a play on words here, because the word Vayichan is also related to the word chen, right? In other words, that he did something to ingratiate himself, you might say, the city. Rav Amar, and this is what's mentioned there in Tractate Shabbat. Rav Amar, Rav said, the Amora, a later a authority, great authority, by the way, Rav, said, Matbea tiken lahem. It says he minted a coin for them. In other words, he introduced the idea of the exchange of money, I think, beyond barter. That was a benefit. We imagine society where we still had to depend on barter, and we've taken that principle of using coinage so far beyond that, right? Shmuel is Rav's interlocutor. Samuel, Amar, he said, Shvakin tiken lahem. Jacob arranged for the people there to use markets, that he introduced the notion of people bringing their produce to one place and making it very convenient for people to purchase their necessary items in one place. These are the ways in which this is understood that this is what Jacob did for them. The Rabbi Yochanan Amar, and Rabbi Yochanan, another very great teacher, Amar merchatzaot tiken lahem. He said he set up for them bathhouses, all ways in which people benefit. Bechol Eila, and all of these examples, hu lahakir tova lahamakom shenityashev bo. And that is, all these examples are a way of recognizing the benefit of the place where he was settling. V'chein ita b'Yerushalmi, and likewise in the Jerusalem Talmud, Shvi'it, this is the tractate called Shvi'it, which would be the seventh year, Perek Tet, chapter 9, Halacha Aleph, Chayav Adam, it says there, it is a duty, an obligation for a person, La'asot Chaniya Lamakom Sheba'alo Tovat Ha'anam Mimenu. It's the whole statement. It is a duty for a person to make some benefit, to be of some benefit to the place from which he derives benefit himself. Important. V'kan masmich inyan zeh, and in that place, in the Yerushalmi, he connects this particular issue that he's just mentioned, apasuk shelafanenu, to the verse that we just read, right? The one about that God put human beings into the garden to tend it and to guard it. V'yein ma shekatav b'parshat Akev, or look and see what I wrote in Parshat Akev, in the Parsha of Akev. But that's in Deuteronomy, by the way. The pasuk regarding the verse, the achalta, you shall eat, the savata, and you shall be satisfied, uveirachta et Hashem, and you shall bless the Lord. And that's where we'll end it for today. And I'm simply going to move this down to here. And I'm going to stop the share. Okay. What's your impressions, Alex? Do you sort of have reactions to this when we do it?
Yes, I do very much. Seems to be an exchange. I guess I do put it in a physical sense. You know, I'm an older tradesman, and yesterday I had to get these two guys instructed, but at some point I pick up the shovel and did what they did too. You have to. And I can say this because I'm part Arab, but what disgusts me is seeing these guys in white robes over in Saudi or wherever they are. I
Yeah.
just look at them and think that they don't do anything other than it's um somehow okay for them just to hire a Pakistani to do everything, or a Philippine, of course. So I think what we just read says don't do that. Don't live that way.
I, you know,
Exchange.
yeah, I would give a broader understanding. I mean, the truth is, look, there's nothing wrong with hiring. First of all, there's so many things I'm incapable of doing myself. But if I ask someone else, and hire them, the issue is, am I giving them a living wage? Am I rewarding them in a sufficient way or compensating them for what they're doing? And remember, one of the guys said that Jacob issued coinage, right? He minted coins for them. So I don't have a problem. To me, because I can employ people doesn't necessarily make me better than the people that I'm employing. I want to see it, and I hope I see it this way, as a partnership. I'm not going to be able to put a HVAC into my house, okay? But if I compensate you for your materials and your time and your expertise to do this, and you charge me a fair price, this is a good thing. This
It's an
is the way the
exchange.
world, this is the way the world operates. The part that I don't like, okay, is where people take advantage, okay? Either way is not nice. And so, I think that's the unfortunate thing, where I am charged to do a job where the person is simply making an unfair profit out of that.
Mhm,
And there's a
mhm.
discussion in the Talmud of what's a fair profit. And essentially, it's about 15%. And
Interesting. I'll
part
keep that in mind.
and part of what's wrong with what's going on here is like when I ask somebody to come and do gardening work for me, and they
Mhm,
just throw out a figure because they can figure I can afford it, not
mhm.
because they're figuring, well, a fair price for labor is $40 an hour or maybe $50 an hour or something like that, you know, and figuring out the time, how much time it took them and the cost of their materials. I mean, they don't do that. They just throw out a big figure and hope that I'm going to buy it. And that's not the way to do business.
They probably threw it
That's
high,
fair.
and
Yeah.
and it turns out they probably shot high, and I'll probably uh, assume that I've probably been guilty of that because you go, well, you don't really know what you're going to get into, so you might as well just throw it on the high side. But when you yeah, it's wrong, it's wrong. Um, you have to daily everything you do, you must evaluate that. And I guess uh, um, I'm assuming that if someone sits there on a throne with a white robe, they're just lording it over somebody. And maybe, as you said, it's what that person actually thinks. Well, they can't do certain things, so they hire that person. So, yeah, how do you equate that? I guess I prove it to myself. I say, well, I'll pick up trash on the job site.
Mhm.
I will do something. And
Right.
that helps prove to me that. So, yeah, I guess we all have to test ourselves like that.
Right. Right. So, I mean, there have been times when I've helped in the kitchen and done dishes, okay? But there are other things that I have to do that other people don't have to do, but hopefully I'm
Mhm.
compensated in a fair kind of way. So,
Mhm. I think when you think of King David and Saul, they they jumped in they were in the trenches.
yes, it's true. But sometimes, if you lose your general, then you've lost the war. So
Exactly.
don't-
Exactly. You need to
these are
protect
hard
them.
things to always work out, you know.
There's the guarding part right there. You need to guard the place too.
Right. You want to set an example, but at the same time, you want to be careful. These are all these complicated questions. This is
Yeah.
why I'm not a general. Anyway, okay,
Oh
we will call it a
my
day for
gosh.
this. I'm going to stop the recording.